Howdy y'all, I'm Jaime, this is the House of Kog, and welcome back to the stage of history. So, let me show you what we've got here. I think you remember on this Impala here, my Impala, we had an issue with the steering wheel column, and it was trying to replace the bushings. So, I ended up getting the steering wheel, rather the steering shaft out, as you can see here. I ended up having to replace it. I ended up having to take it out, clean it out, and spray the heck out of it and wipe it down with carburetor cleaner. It was so thick on there, all the rust and junk, that the bearing, it got about right here. No, it was about right here, and then it wouldn't go anymore. Even with some snug pushing, and I didn't want to push it down too much, so I was like, well, let me clean it up. So that took quite a bit of time to wipe down and hose it down with carburetor cleaner. But as you can see, it looks pretty good. And so my main issue right now is I'm not sure if this piece right here, this is actually part of the old bearing from here. This is the new bearing, but I can see this. And upon close inspection, what I see on the edge here is that it's not very flat and it looks kind of beat up. So that almost tells me, or was telling me, that it may have broken off from here. So I was buzzing through the service manual, but I couldn't find anything to get some clarification. And then I remembered I had this old steering column here that I was gifted with. And so I'm going to use this as a reference for determining how this right here is set up. So the bolts that go here, they require 7/16. So I'm going to take off this collar here, this here, and if I remember correctly, based on this one, just slides right out. So let's do that right now. So I made a 7/16 on the other end, down in here. Should, yep, there we go. Good. I'll reuse this one because the one I took off, I'm not sure where it's at. Because it wasn't with the stash of other things that I had associated with it. So definitely keeping that. Let's see. That's loose, that's loose, and then I gotta take the steering wheel off. up. Okay, upon further inspection, again, I really didn't know what to look for, but this steering adapter here was in the steering bearing adapter was in the steering jacket, and this race, I didn't realize this race was right inside here. And I tried putting this in, but it was kind of weird. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I thought for a second, and granted it was flush, I thought like, well, maybe it goes like that. This is kind of weird, but as you can see here, this was chewed up. So I've concluded, it's pretty obvious, that the bearing race was chewing up on the steering shaft here. And this ring was actually this piece here. So what I am going to do is actually use this spare one, I guess you could say. Yeah, the spare one that I had lying around. I forgot it was, I even had that steering column. Sam actually gave it to me. He's like, hey, do you want this? Like, yeah, I could do something with it. I think I might do an art project or something. Well, I'm actually going to use it to fix the car. But it's the same diameter. It's 0.75. This is 0.75 as well. As you can see here, or maybe not. Let me move it up here. This actually got chewed up here, obviously, but it got chewed up all the way up into right here. And so that should help a lot with all that up and down motion I was getting. And I imagine it would help with steering overall. But this goes in no problem, as you can see here. So this guy will slide up into the steering jacket, and I'll go ahead and start doing that. Alright, so I was able to get the steering shaft in, as you can see here. It took a lot of time to get in. I'll tell you one thing, it took a lot longer time to get in than go out. But one point of notice that you want to mind is when you put in the adapter here for the bearing. That's what the service manual calls a bearing adapter. You want to make sure you line up the 3 holes that are on the adapter with the bracket, the 3 holes there. Otherwise you'll be trying to find the hole down there, because there's a 3rd one down there, and you really can't find it because there's no hole to be found, because it's offset by 1. So here is the new quicker ratio manual steering box that I have. It's about a 4.5, 4.25, 4.5 or so turn. And to dial in and get it set up for installation, you're going to want to, I guess in a sense, reference it and see how many turns you are to get in the center. So here you can see that I've already have the lines marked up. So this is at the end of the rotation. So mark it here, here. That way you can have a reference point. And I'm going to churn it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're about a little 4 3/5 or so. Well, not quite 4.5. But so once we know that's the case, we're gonna back it off halfway just to get in the center of what would be the steering of the churn. So what I like to do is gonna go all the way over and go that way. So let's do it again. 1. Here's 2. And then about right here would be that halfway mark. And I have it marked already, as you can see. And so now, with this lined up, that's going to be where your center steering wheel will be. Alright, and that'll do it for this episode of the House of Kog. And like always, because it feels good when you do it, and you get it done, because I know it feels good with me, and I know it's going to feel good with you, when you get it done and you got it right. House of Kog wishes you qapla. Alrighty, see y'all next time.